Hello, this is Old Crow Balthazar, and welcome to Balthazar Strategic Arcana. So this is episode 6 of my video documentary of the Icarus mod by Mike Small, MD Small. So we're going to continue on. We're going to get into different changes with mirrored number of countries. We're going to start with Persia. This is section 9. Comment. Both the Russians and British had significant zones of influence in Persia by 1914, and the oil wells in southern Persia were an important strategic source of oil for the British Empire. Persia was a complex secondary theater of conflict between the British, Russians, and Ottomans from the beginning of the war. These changes are meant to reflect that. A new decision has been given to Russia which fires when the Ottomans enter the war, enabling the Russians to exercise their sphere of influence over northern Persia, an area known as Persian Azerbaijan. If they say yes, an area of northern Persia centered on Tabriz is transferred to Russian control. This is done by giving it to Armenia, which becomes a 100% mobilized Russian minor. A Russian mountain division deploys in Tabriz. An Armenian volunteer detachment will also deploy if Ottoman troops move to the border with Persian Azerbaijan. In November 1915, another new decision allows the Russians to create a Persian expeditionary force with 2 cavalry divisions deploying in Tabriz and Astara, respectively. In the south, the oil well Abadan has been transferred on the map back to Persia. A new Persian oil convoy route to the UK will start as soon as the UK seizes Basra. The land convoy will link the oil wells at Maidan-e-Naftun and Abadan and will ending in Basra. Convoy will be worth 25 MPPs for the UK or 30 MPPs if the Russians do not occupy Persian Azerbaijan. I guess they got to shell a little bit out to them. This is a net increase for the UK of 15 MPPs over the production of just the Abadan oil well when it was part of Mesopotamia. Germany can send agents into southern Persia led by Wilhelm Wassmuss to sabotage the Persian oil convoy to Basra. The cost of this decision has been reduced from 50 to 30 MPPs. The amount of damage that they can do has been increased. If they succeed, the Ottomans will also get a 200 national morale point bump. The German powers can also interrupt the convoy through diplomacy by swinging Persia to the Central Powers. Or the Ottomans could choose to invade southern Persia and occupy one or more of the resource hexes on the convoy line. If the Central Powers conquer Persia, the UK can send agents to sabotage the same oil resources, as well as Tehran, also at the reduced rate of 30 MPPs. Tehran is now a national morale objective for the Ottoman Empire. If the Central Powers choose to declare war on Persia, the 5-strength Persian Cossack Corps will mobilize to defend Tehran. However, the 5-strength detachments of the Persian Gendarmerie based in Kazim, Kermanshah, Khorramabad, respectively, each have only a 50% chance of mobilization against the Central Powers if they come within 3 hexes of their bases. The other 50% of the time they will defect and become Ottoman units. If the Entente chooses to declare war on Persia, all 4 of the Persian Gendarmerie units will mobilize if the Entente units come within 3 hexes of their towns. However, the Persian Cossack unit in Tehran will only mobilize against the Entente 50% of the time, and the other 50% of the time it will defect to become a Russian unit. And I have to tell you, as a student of Persia, especially medieval Persia and early modern Persia, this is great. Somebody has been doing their research. Heck, there's a one big chunk of the map that people can play on now. Anyway, let's continue here. Okay, Section 10, Albania. A new post-surrender partisan spawning hex has been added to Albania. Comment, it seemed reasonable to have conquered Albania would spawn partisan. Oh, absolutely. You know that. Section 11, Austria-Hungary. Naval saboteurs. The decision for Austro-Hungarian saboteurs attacking Italian port now costs 25 MPPs for 2 turns, rather than the 50 MPPs for 1 turn. Yeah, that's a little bit more palatable. Thank you. Comment, the existing decision triggers early in the campaign, a time when Austria-Hungary needs all the MPPs it can get to build up its armies on the Italian frontier. This change makes this option easier to afford for Austria-Hungary. And my comment, I have to admit that a few times I didn't go for it. The 50 MPs was pretty hard to swallow when I could throw it in. Like airship research or something more, some other granular research is going to have big dividends. They can do some damage to the ports, so I have used them. The Polish Legion, Section 11. Oh, it's for Austria too. Okay, the decision for Joseph Pilsudski's Polish region now costs Austria-Hungary only 1 times 30 MPPs, and the unit arrives at the start of the third term on August 29th, 1914. Comment: the reduced cost more fairly reflects the value of the unit, arrives at half strength, and it makes the decision more attractive for Austria-Hungary in the opening weeks of the war. Yep. Now here we're getting some undiscovered country. Denmark, Section 12. If Denmark swings at 30% for the Central Powers, a loop is created in the Baltic, allowing German ships to move through Denmark from the Baltic to the Kattegat. German ships can also use the existing loop to move into the Baltic through Denmark without causing Denmark to swing to the Entente. If Denmark swings 40% to the Entente, the same provisions will apply to all Entente ships. Comment: these options create a limited ability for both sides to move from the Baltic to the North Sea without bringing Denmark fully into the war. It could lead to more naval combat in the Skagerrak and Kattegat around Denmark or the lower Baltic. Yeah, absolutely. You better be keeping an eye on that, especially the Kaiser with Denmark. Denmark's not just a appendage that just sits there and waits it out in the war. It could get active in a variety of ways. With diplomatic exchanges in Copenhagen, right? All right, Section 13, Egypt. The Indian Field Artillery Unit that arrives in Egypt in March 1915 arrives in Suez rather than Cairo. Comment: Suez is a port where this unit would have arrived from India, not Cairo. Yeah. This change is tend to make it a bit easier to transport this unit to support the Gallipoli campaign or move it to the front against the Ottomans in Sinai. Yeah, I agree with this, even though I know how dumb the British could be about stuff sometimes. Sorry, Britain. Like their orders were to get it to Cairo, and they'd unlimber it and get it get the stuff moved into Cairo from Sinai or from Suez, right? What are you doing here? The Turks aren't here. Okay. Section 14, Finland. If Finland becomes independent as aligned to the Central Powers after the German decision to send General von der Goltz there, it can swing an additional 20% if the Central Powers capture Revel and Estonia, an additional 20% if the Central Powers capture Narva. Comment: this is intended to give the Central Powers an incentive to bring Finland fully into the war on their side so they can attack Petrograd from the north. This could encourage them to try to conquer Russia outright rather than acceding to the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Yeah, I like it. I have to say, I've been a big fan of Finland too. Greece. Okay, Section 15. A new decision will enable Britain and France to fund an early coup attempt by Greek Prime Minister Venizelos to bring Greece into the war on the Entente side. The decision will fire if the Serbian Montenegrin towns along the land route to the Serbian capital. Oh wait, did I miss this? The decision will fire if the French convoy route to Serbia through Sardinians is threatened by the capture of any of the Serbian Montenegrin towns along the land route to the Serbian capital, or if the Central Powers are within 2 hexes of Niš or 3 hexes of Uskub. The latter will happen automatically if Bulgaria enters the war. There is a 75% chance of success for the coup. If it succeeds, all the Greek mobilizes for the Entente. If it fails, Greece joins the Central Powers, but Salonika and Thrace succeed and set up their own independent state of Salonika, which joins the Entente. Either way, the convoy from France to Serbia will be routed through Salonika. Comment: this gives the Entente the option, at some risk, to bring Greece into the war on the Entente side much earlier than the existing decision, which fires in August 1915. If the Central Powers are waging an assault on Serbia, this will prove necessary in order to keep Serbia supplied. Now, I have a side note. I worked this out with Mike last year. We were trying to come up for a Salonika front, especially if the Serbia fell really quick. It was too easy to roll Greece. But with the knowledge of the Civil War, the country was kind of demarcated, so that the Entente had pretty much full reign in the northern part of Greece, but the southern part was full of so many German sympathizers including the government in Athens. So this works good. And he did modify it. It was at 50% chance of success. I said that's a little too extreme, and we both thought it out and worked, kind of played with it a little bit. Including I did a bunch of tests, and it's still risky. But anyway, there's that. So it's good. This is more for Greece. Oh, General Danglas. Once mobilized for an Entente, Greek General Danglas arrives in Larissa rather than next to Athens. Comment. In existing game settings, both Danglas and the Athens corps deploy in Athens, meaning that Danglas deploys into a low supply X next to Athens, well away from front. Yeah, I've noticed that. What's he doing out there? Picking grapes? All right, Iceland. Section 16. If Denmark swings 30% for the Central Powers, a new decision gives Germany the option of gaining control of the port of Reykjavik for 100 MPPs. Comment. This could be very useful for supplying German subs raiding the North Atlantic. Intriguing. So just remember 30%, boys and girls. Okay, Italy. Section 17. Convoy to Italy from France. A new decision has been written giving France the option of starting its convoy to Italy as soon as Italy enters the war. Previously, the Entente had to wait until Serbia had surrendered before the convoy from France to Italy could begin. Comment. Depending on the situation in the Balkans, Italy may be able to make better use of the extra sources than Serbia. Also, Serbia may still have access to the convoy from Russia. Yeah, that's a nice option. That's great, especially if somebody hits the Central Power side to hit Italy like really hard, and there's still a rump of Serbia, but you don't want Italy to fall. I mean, I'm sorry. If I had to, I'm in Paris and I want to make a decision between helping the poor Serbs, but Italy's getting rolled, and they're ready to lose Venice. I would want this. I would want to have this option. Now Entente's got that option, so that's great. Section 72. Okay, Italian frogman. Decision for Italian frogman against Austro-Hungarian ports now costs 25 MPPs for 2 turns rather than 50 MPPs. Come as with the equivalent change in the cost of Austro-Hungarian saboteurs. This is tend to make this decision easier for Italy to forward earlier in the war. Yeah, absolutely. Libya. Now, we worked on this too. I worked on this and put in a lot on this. So here we go. Libya, Section 18, the Senussi Uprising. The decision for the Ottomans to fund the Senussi revolt has been moved up to August 7th, 1915, and the trigger has been set at 25%. This will make the starting date for the revolt somewhat more unpredictable for both sides. More partisan spawning hexes and more spawning events have been added to in Libya to make it difficult for the Italians to prevent Senussi partisans from spawning. The spawning hexes south of Tobruk have the highest likelihood of spawning partisans. The ones further west have a lower trigger per turn. The maximum number of Senussi partisans that can be active at one time is 4. Like Arab partisans, Senussi partisans have 5 action points. Section 8.2, Benghazi. A 5-strength Italian colonist garrison will mobilize in Benghazi if CP forces, including partisans, approach within 3 hexes. National morale objective. Tripoli, Benghazi, Tobruk have been made national morale objectives for Italy, making it more costly for Italy to lose them. The Ottomans will now earn national morale points for taking Benghazi or Tripoli. This is absolutely great. It was too easy, just no Senussi event. It just took 2 measly small weak units to cover the P hexes. We tested this out extensively. This works great. And I also studied this revolt a long time ago and then revisited it. This and Ottoman influence in the area after the Italo-Ottoman War of 1911. And yeah. All right, let's go to Montenegro. New post-surrender partisan spawning hex has been added to Montenegro. Comment, this seemed reasonable as a complement to Serbia's 2 partisan spawning hexes. Absolutely. Black Mountain definitely erupts. They don't like outsiders there, never have. And that was Section 19. Section 20, Morocco. It's another one that Mike and I discussed. I brought this up, Rift Rebellion. Section 20, Morocco. 2 more partisan spawning hexes have been added to Morocco. The cost to Germany of funding the Moroccan partisans has been reduced from 50 to 30 MPPs. If one Moroccan partisan appears on a 3% chance, the chance of more partisans spawning increases to 35%. Comment. This makes the German option to fund subversion in Morocco more attractive and should require France to pay a bit more attention to Morocco over the course of the game. Another thing in vanilla, there's only 1 P hex, and there's a garrison in a neighboring town, and it just, the only reason partisans ever popped up there before is because someone forgot to go move that garrison. But once you played the game once or twice, you'll never forget it again, and there would never be a riff rebellion in which it was nasty. It was nasty for France. So it's almost going to happen, and so you need to send something down there to deal with it. You never know. I mean, the Central Powers might not even want to waste 30 MPP, but that's that. Norway. This is interesting. If Norway swings to 40% for the Central Powers, Germany obtains control of the ports of Bergen and Stavanger. These ports could be proved very useful for German attacks against an Entente blockade line in the North Sea. The Norwegian convoy to the UK that is triggered when Norway reaches 20% for the Entente will shift from Narvik to Trondheim if Sweden also moves 20% for the Entente. See details below. Okay. I can see this is real interesting here. It's almost like Vigo in Spain. And the Norwegians, they were getting very upset that their trade was getting demolished by the Royal Navy as it was. Okay, section 22, Portugal. A new decision has been added at fires on March 25th, 1916, reflecting the historical events that brought Portugal into war on Entente side. As a result, Portugal could swing 25 to 40% for the Entente. Portugal can also swing slightly towards Entente if the Central Powers have ships on the trade route from Lisbon to Bristol or near Lisbon. Comment. These events can bring Portugal into the war on Entente side by 1916 at a cost of 50 MPPs, perhaps aided by 1 or 2 diplomacy checks. Portugal was in, played the Ludendorff campaign quite a lot, including a couple multiplayer matches, and it was real interesting. Yeah, there was 2 Portuguese corps there. I don't think half of them wanted to be there, but, it was part of the honoring of the Anglo-Portuguese alliance, that one of the oldest alliances in the world. I think it was started in the 1500s. It was an old alliance. So, yeah, they showed up on the Western Front. Section 23, Russia. The Russian Armistice Treaty of Brest-Litovsk event now has a 50% chance of firing once Russian national morale falls below 12%, reduced from 100%. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. This change decreases the unpredictability of exactly when Germany will receive the Russian armistice proposal. Should inhibit the Germans from withdrawing too many forces in advance of receiving Russia's armistice offer. And I have actually seen people do this too before this change. They know it's 100% it's going to happen, and they already start pulling units out when the whole place was going to turn upside down. They didn't really know if they were going to sign or not. Section 24, Spain. If Spain reaches 40% for the Central Powers, Germany has the option of spending 100 MPPs to create a loop through Spanish Africa that will allow Central Power fleets to move from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean and vice versa. Comment. This will give the Central Powers some flexibility to either reinforce their fleets in the Mediterranean or the Atlantic. Yeah, it's an interesting what if. Section 25, Sweden. If Sweden and Norway both reach 20% to the Entente, the Swedish convoy will be rerouted through Narvik and will flow to the UK. To enable this, the port of Narvik and 3 rail hexes in northern Norway will be transferred to Sweden. This convoy is worth 30 MPPs per turn, unlike the Swedish convoy to Germany. It is not affected by winter as Narvik is an ice-free port. If Narvik is being used by Sweden, the Norwegian convoy to the UK will shift to Trondheim. Both convoys will terminate in the port of Rosyth in Scotland rather than Cromarty. This is intended to give the Entente an additional incentive to use diplomacy to swing Sweden away from the Central Powers. Rosyth is a much bigger industrial center and thus a more logical endpoint for these convoys from Cromarty. The slightly longer convoy route may offer some additional rating options for German subs. Interesting. All right, section 26, the United States. And we got some good stuff here. 26.1, the Zimmerman telegram and its aftermath. Comment, this single event has been converted in a series of interlocking decisions reflecting the fact that there were 4 parties involved: Germany, Britain, the USA, and Mexico, and they each had their own calculations to make. Although it's still a desperation move by Germany, they now have more incentives to attempt it. This will force some risk assessments by British and the Americans. And I have to say, in vanilla, nobody dares pick this decision because now it gives more incentive to the German player to make, or such players player Germany to actually consider this thing as we read on here. Germany's presented a decision to send a telegram to Mexico as soon as USA mobilization reaches 75%. If Germany chooses to send the telegram, there is an 80% chance that British intelligence will intercept it. Oh, this gets deep, and this is my billowhack here. If they do, the UK then must decide whether to leak the telegram to President Wilson or not. If they do, there's a 70% chance he will believe it, in which case the USA will go to war immediately. But there's also a 30% chance he will think it is a forgery, in which case the USA will swing 30 to 35% away from the Entente. Oh, he might think that's perfidious Albion. It's the Brits. Oh, that's good. If UK decides not to leak the telegram, or if they fail to intercept it, Germany must decide whether to follow through to make a 50 MPP arms shipment to Mexico as a down payment. If they do, there's a 50% chance the Mexican government will accept Germany's proposal for an alliance, in which case Germany will make a second 50 MPP payment to Mexico. There's also a 50% chance they will reject the German offer, keep the money, and declare their neutrality. Oh, this is good stuff. If Germany accepts the German offer, the U.S. government has to decide whether to send a punitive expedition to Mexico, which will cost 3x50 MPPs 3 times, over the course of 3 turns, and cause U.S. alignment against Germany to drop by 40 to 45%. The alternative is that the U.S. government could ignore the threat from Mexico to keep their current level of mobilization against the Central Powers, but accept 5,000 national morale hit, a permanent loss of 20 MPPs per turn needed to shore up the southern border. Never mind. I won't say what I was just going to say. And a 5% to 50% swing towards the Central Powers by other Central Powers aligned neutrals in Europe. Very interesting. Let's go to, next one. This is for USA 26.2. General Pershing. Once the ceasefire is reached with Mexico or the USA goes to war with the Central Powers, whichever comes first, the USA has a new decision to create a HQ for General Pershing in Washington at the cost of 4 times 50 MPPs. There has been an American punitive force sent to Mexico. Pershing will arrive with 1 point of experience. Pershing was given command of the U.S. Army in 1917 before the USA entered the war. After commanding the punitive expedition against Pancho Villa in Mexico. Covered one of the information pop-ups in the game. Yeah. This decision reflects that fact and gives the USA a chance of having an HQ they can afford when they enter the war. Interesting. Okay, and this is the last bit right here. Section 26.3. Spanish flu events. Comment. The 1918 Spanish influenza pandemic was a major factor in the last year of the war, which so far is missing from the game. These changes model the early stages of the flu pandemic, as they affect American forces being sent to France and other Entente units in affected ports. The effects are similar to the Serbian and Ottoman typhus epidemics in 1914. Starting in February 1918, if the USA has entered the war, American land and naval units, one or within 1 hex of the ports of the east coast of the USA, will risk being affected by the Spanish flu. Affected units will lose 1 to 2 strength points and will suffering a 10 to 40% chance in unit morale loss. The flu would then spread to ports in March to ports in Western France, and then April to ports on both sides of the English Channel up to Boulogne and London. Oh my gosh. Well, that is it. That was the end of, is this episode 6? Yeah. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that, and post some comments. So I made these episodes separate, so people, if they want to get involved in this mod, once it finally becomes available, they can use this as a resource. I do believe that Mike's going to be posting notes on the comments here, and throughout the first series I'm doing with him is Essential Powers. Also, I believe there'll be something on the Matrix forums. So there's that. So I hope you all enjoyed that. It's been good. It's good. I've been playing it and testing it. It's grand. It's grand. All right, I'll leave it at that. This is Oko Bowser. See you later. I am gone.